Whether you're avoiding sweet treats for Lent or you want a healthy alternative, I'm here at Gainesville Health and Fitness Main Center with Marissa Langton, showing us how to make black bean brownies. Okay, Marissa, thank you so much for having me, and yum, question mark, black bean brownies?
Yeah, so actually this sounds kind of odd, but they actually are pretty good. So we're gonna go through, it's really easy to make. The first thing that you'll do, we'll take some quick cooking oats, it's just half a cup. And what you wanna do is use a food processor or blender so that they're a fine powder, because that'll be better as a texture in the brownie. So we'll start with that as our base here. And these actually don't even use any flour. So if you're gluten-free or anything like that, it's easy to mix these in as well. On top of the oats, we'll also add in a quarter cup of any type of oil, one that tends to be more flavorless, not like an olive oil tends to work best here.
Okay.
And then as a sweetener, we're going to use a third cup of pure maple syrup. And maple syrup is actually a good source of manganese and zinc, so it's an extra way to sneak in a few minerals in there. On top of that, we're also going to use 2 tablespoons of regular sugar here and add that in. And then just some other minor things for baking, we'll use 1 teaspoon of baking powder just to add a little bit of rise. They won't get quite as fluffy as a regular brownie, but this helps a little bit. And then we're also going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla.
Yum. Love the smell of it too.
And then the last thing that we'll add in will just be 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So this will give it that really chocolatey flavor as a base here. And cocoa powder as well as chocolate chips are actually, especially dark chocolate, is a good source of magnesium, so you can sneak that micronutrient in there as well. And then we'll just add in a sprinkle of salt before we get into the black bean portion of our brownie.
And I do love that a lot of these ingredients are things that you will have in your pantry. So this is pretty easy and simple to make. You don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of ingredients.
Yes, exactly. You can really pull from your pantry a lot for this recipe. So then with the black beans, you're just going to take 1 can of black beans, usually around like 15 ounces are the cans. And you want to get one that's not seasoned, and you want to wash it really thoroughly to kind of get those juices off so that they're just plain, very flavorless, so that we don't get that black bean flavor through the brownie. We just really taste that chocolate. And you want to put these, again, you can use a food processor or a blender if you don't have access to a food processor. And we want to make sure that they're nice and smooth, because if we don't do this, it'll be kind of chunky in the brownie.
Yeah, and chunky brownies don't necessarily sound good.
No.
Unless it's chunks of chocolate. That's different.
Exactly. And the black beans really add some good fiber to the dessert, which we don't often get in dessert products. And they also add, a good source of plant-based iron, which is typically low in the American diet. So good nutrients there. And then once we kind of mix that all up, we're just going to also add in a half a cup of chocolate chips. So we'll go ahead and add those in, and I'll just leave a few that we'll save to kind of sprinkle on top before we bake. And then you can kind of just mix those in until it's all folded together.
Now it is it time to pan and get ready to bake?
Yes.
All right, so we have the pan. What is this, 8 by 8?
Yes, 8 by 8 is the size that's used for this recipe, so the baking time just may vary if you're using a different sized pan.
And you want to make sure you grease it well.
Yes, so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. And then we'll kind of just scoop all of our brownie batter right in there. And then from there, just for a little finishing touch, I also like to sprinkle the rest of my chocolate chips on top. Yeah, so then we'll put it in a oven that's preheated to 350 degrees, and you want to bake actually only for about like 15 to 18 minutes. It really doesn't take long to cook. And then once it's done baking, you'll pull it out, let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then at that point it'll be ready to slice and eat.
Oh my goodness, so first off, these look exactly like brownies. You would totally fool me. So I have to ask, what do they taste like?
I think they're pretty good, but let's go ahead and try them out.
Okay, you first, as the baker. I want to cheers.
Cheers. Really chocolatey.
This tastes just like straight chocolate.
Yeah. It's kind of fudgy too.
It's very fudgy. That, I will say, that's the difference, is the texture, but it's not a weird texture. It's a very creamy texture, and this is healthy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Marissa, thank you so much for having me here and teaching me how to make this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.